Welcome to our short webinar, Why Your Sales Team Holds the Key to Content Marketing. I'm really pleased that so many of you can join us this afternoon. We've had a few questions through. There's a Google form on the landing page that you're joining. Please do send in your questions. What happens is that we get them through Google Drive, but you'll have to be signed into Google, I think, in order to be able to do it. But we're really happy to take your questions. And I really hope that you enjoy our topic this afternoon. So this afternoon's webinar is called Why Your Sales Team Holds the Key to Content Marketing. And I think it's a really important topic. I regularly find when I'm both working with consultancy clients, my students when I'm teaching, and people who've joined the workshops that we run here in Newcastle, that the marketing team or the marketers are trying really hard to understand what this new type of customer is after. But in fact, they're not customer facing. They don't spend time with customers in the way that the sales team does. And that's why I put this webinar together today, because I think it's worth exploring and finding out how we can get sales and marketing working more closely together. So the topics I'm going to cover are just a little brief overview of content marketing, just a couple of slides so that we're all talking about the same thing. Then discussing what marketers need to know in order to be able to create really good content marketing. And then maybe exploring a little bit about, why sales and marketing don't always see things in the same way. They're not always on the same page, perhaps not always working at the same speed. And then finally, what customer insights the sales team can share with marketing so that marketing can basically produce better materials, have better websites, better content marketing. And I suppose in a way, it basically produces better traffic, better quality traffic, better leads for the sales team. Then we'll end with a short Q&A, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your afternoon. So I thought I'd kick this off with something a little bit controversial. Peter Drucker is one of the fathers of modern marketing. He's the most amazing marketing mind and worked as an academic, but also as a consultant. He worked inside businesses for years. And one of his most famous quotes is about, what is marketing? So in his view, the aim of marketing is to know and understand the customer so well the product or service fits him and sells itself. That's quite a tall order. And if the marketing team never get in front of customers, they never speak to customers, they don't hear the way they describe themselves or the way they describe even the business that they're buying from, it's really hard to get inside their hearts and minds. He also said, and I think this is the one I want to kick around today, the aim of marketing is to make selling unnecessary. Now that isn't making the sales team unnecessary, because I think as marketers, we sometimes fall into the trap of thinking that actually with great marketing, the job is done. The sales team are the ones who really build the relationship with customers. And it's often a really long-term relationship. And I think as marketers, we sometimes undervalue that. And I do think that's where some of the problems arise. So what is content marketing? Well, it's a relatively new form of marketing. It's developed in the last maybe 5-6 years. A lot of it in response to changes in consumer behavior, access to the internet, access to multiple sources of information about products and services, and also access to other consumers' reviews and their friends online and their friends on Facebook and what people are buying and how they feel about it. So we have very educated customers now. Content marketing is little regular, what we call provocations. So it might be a post on LinkedIn, it could be a piece of content that you've shared, perhaps even a video that you've shared on Facebook, or it could be a longer piece of content you've created like an ebook or a guide or a download. And it's really, it's designed to keep in touch with the customer at every stage throughout that buyer journey, because we know Sometimes it's a quick purchase. You know, the need is fulfilled within a few minutes. Sometimes when somebody signs on the dotted line, it's going to be months, maybe even years before you've finished and delivered what they've bought from you. And content marketing helps you keep them on board. So it's good for the top of funnel. It's even better for the bottom of the funnel when somebody's already your customer. So it's the stuff everybody wants to know. It's all the tricky questions. It's all the stuff people will ask face to face if they're with somebody or if they're on the phone with somebody. But increasingly, people would like to find this stuff on your website, or they want to find it, that you've shared it with them in the content that you've created for them. So content is basically the copy that you use, words that you use, text. It's pictures, graphics, photography, audio. So if you're using podcasts, or perhaps you've recorded an audio to go with a SlideShare deck, or video. Video can also be animations, and it can be the sort of how-to guides, it could be webinars, but any video-based content. So there's the basic ingredients. How it differs from traditional marketing, I suppose particularly from traditional advertising, is that it's very, very customer-focused. It's really user-focused. We're not going for the hard sell anymore. We're not going to try and bamboozle people. There are no tricks up our sleeves. We're trying to be open and transparent. We want to build trust. We want to engage people, educate them, inform them. And most importantly, we want to attract them to us, a kind of magnetic attraction rather than a push, hard sell. Loads of different forms of content marketing and inbound marketing. Inbound marketing just brings in some of the paid digital marketing tools. But essentially, there's so many ways in which you can communicate this information to educate and build trust with your marketplace. Why are we doing it? Well, it's significantly less expensive than traditional forms of marketing. I've been in marketing for about 20 years now, and it wasn't so long ago when maybe a massive chunk of your budget went on paid advertising to reach customers, or perhaps it went on print and distribution, depending on the sector that you were in. We don't have those kind of budgets anymore. And also, I think our customers are buying in a different way. And this is the most important thing. It isn't just about how much should we spend. It's where do they expect us to appear, and what information would they like us to share with them when we're there. So we're doing it for brand awareness, which is the top of sales funnel. People who've never heard of you, or they've got a vague awareness of what you do. So brand awareness is still really important. And brand awareness was always the main function of advertising. Customer acquisition is getting new people on board. Perhaps they're ready to jump ship, they're ready to change provider, or it could just be a quick purchase, but customer acquisition is still really key. But customer engagement is just as important. I think it costs us something like 20 times more to bring a new customer on board, depending on the sector you work in. Think how much you've been spending to get those new customers. And then think of the value to you if you keep a customer. Not only the upsell and the on-sell and that lifetime relationship, but also the value of referrals. Okay, so this is why we're doing it. And this is kind of the journey. Those of you who've worked in sales or worked in marketing for a while, this will be familiar to you, typical sales funnel. But what's different with the inbound or marketing, the content marketing sales funnel, is that we're looking to, I suppose, to nurture the customer to become a promoter, to become an advocate for the brand, for our products and services. They're so happy with working with us that they're going to tell everybody else. And most importantly, if we create good content, they will share it on for us. So this is your fan base. So different types of activities that you would expect people to take out when they're going through the funnel, but also different types of content that you would need to create for them. So if you're looking to attract new people to your website, that's the classic sort of blogging, video, social media, email marketing, keywords. Obviously, making sure that your website is well optimized for search, that when people are looking for what you do, they find you easily. Having good landing pages as well set up for people. Once somebody's visited your site, do you make it clear what you want them to do? Have you got good calls to action on your pages? Do you have dedicated landing pages designed to convert them, either in terms of a sale or in terms of they've signed up for something, they've downloaded something, they've shared some contact data with you, they've left a trail? Closing the leads. Well, some of this takes place online. God, in an ideal world, yeah? But actually, closing leads, that's often where the sales team come in, either via email or on the phone, but just as often in person. I think, again, as marketers, we sometimes forget the role and the value, the importance of that sales team, that sales function. Finally, you've got them to sign on the dotted line, or that you've got them to buy from you. They're your customer. By sharing great stuff with them, good content in social media, through email marketing, and also, sort of clever upsells, you can sell more to that customer. You can also get them to enlist new customers for you by becoming promoters. So this is kind of how we look at the sales funnel from a content or inbound marketing point of view. What's important is this little bit down here at the very, very bottom. Now, sadly, with the traditional sales funnel, often that really kind of lovely, granular, personal data about the customer that the salesperson has managed to garner throughout their interactions with them doesn't really get captured anywhere. Now, obviously, with your CRM system, you do have to be mindful that any data that you store there about customers has to be stuff that you're prepared to share with them. That's a legal requirement. But this insight into that customer, who they are, how they feel, what makes them tick, what's keeping them awake at night, and most importantly, why did they pick you, not the dozens of other people who do what you do? That's what the sales team don't always manage to feed back to marketing for whatever reason. So the other reason why we're doing content marketing, or we're having it as part of our strategy now, is it's a lot less expensive. It isn't free. I think there's always been an aspiration with content marketing and social media that it's not going to cost you anything. A lot of the tools are free. You can do an awful lot with a very minimal outlay. But certainly if you're looking to incorporate good design, perhaps animations, graphics, video, audio, and also some of the software that you'll want to use to help you with the kind of the publishing and the dissemination, then there may be an investment at some stage. But it tends to sort of scale up as you get busier. It's definitely a strategy that you can follow with minimal outlay from the very beginning. But the other reason why we're doing it is because the consumer journey has changed, the customer journey has changed. So people skip through TV ads. We all do it. We always could do it. You'd nip out and get a cup of tea in the ads, but now increasingly you've recorded it and you're going to skip through it. People don't like direct mail. We don't like the stuff that comes through the front door. And even if people have signed up for your company email, they're quite likely to unsubscribe. Perhaps the need was already satisfied, or the moment's gone. For whatever reason, it's not going to convert. Okay, so we just have to be aware of the fact that if they can unsubscribe and if they can skip our adverts, we have to find a way to pop up and appear in their online journey at some point with a variety of content and in a variety of places. And our customer has changed. The balance of power sits very firmly in their hands now. Online reviews, TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, even things like Which. Not only are our customers looking there, but we are looking there ourselves when we're looking to make purchases for ourselves, for our household, even purchases for our businesses. When was the last time you made a big outlay, perhaps a new piece of software or equipment, and you didn't ask somebody else if they were really happy with it? We all do it. And we're looking further and wider than before. So your customer has a lot of choice. They're fully empowered now to leave reviews about you as well, either on social media or on some kind of review site. And, I've heard some of the social media commentators quite rightly point out that complaining on social media, it's a spectator sport. People really enjoy it. They want to get a rise out of you. They don't even really want a resolution from you. So thinking about these things, thinking about your customer and the different kinds of information they want nowadays. They want you to be more transparent. They want more openness. We've all been burnt by things we've bought online, things that they've looked great, but they were disappointed. They were disappointing. So building trust is even harder than it was before. And if you don't answer their questions somewhere, ideally on your website with some piece of content, but if not in social media, if they don't find the answer from you, they will move on, and they'll move on immediately. And chances are they won't be back. So it's changed the way that we're doing business. It's changed certainly the way that we're doing marketing. But it's also had an impact on sales. In some ways, I think sales are in a very good position nowadays. That the selling functions is in a really good position nowadays because their insights, their customer experience, it has a role now. I think it finally has somewhere to fit in. So what do marketers need to know? Well, I'm going to start with customer segmentation. Sorry, bit dry, but this is where your average marketer is going to start with the database that they have. So it's either the business cards you've gathered, or you've bought databases, or you've built them up through lead magnets on your website, lead generation. But essentially, you've got first name, last name, email address, maybe a phone number. You might have the business name. You might have the address. You might have some sales data about them. You might know what they've bought before. And B2B, you might have some idea of what their role is within the business. That's it. That's it. And you can't create content that reaches out and gives somebody a big shake around the shoulders and then a giant hug if you don't know anything about them. So even the life stage, you may not even know for a B2C consumer, you may not even know whether they're buying it for themselves or they're buying it for the child or for an elderly parent. So we don't know who the buyer is. You can't talk to them as a real person if you just have them as a kind of nameless group on your database, i.e. lead, suspect, prospect. It's not very personal. So this data that we have, it's not the same as customer insight. And I hear this week in, week out with the people I'm talking to, my marketing students, I'm hearing it from them all the time. They really want to get closer to the customer. They want to create great content, great web pages, even great sales materials, but they just don't have that customer insight. So your customer journey is very, very different now. I think recent research indicates that they're looking at maybe 12 or more sources of information before making a bigger online purchase. Ouch, that's a lot of marketing. You've got to show up in an awful lot of places. So just having your website and some printed materials, it doesn't really cut it anymore. This is why businesses are really, really engaged in blogging. They're creating videos. They're using social media thoughtfully, giving people good information. They're sharing other people's really good content in their social media as well. But you don't know when your customer is going to move on to the next stage in their decision making. And you've kind of got to be there. They expect you to be there, but they don't necessarily expect you to be everywhere and all the time. And again, your sales team and your customer services team, even your services team, may have insight that you don't have as a marketer within the business. And one of the foundations of really good content marketing, particularly inbound marketing, is the development of buyer personas or avatars. Now, I've seen a lot of templates for these, some good, some bad, and quite frankly, some indifferent. It's something that we regularly develop with clients when they work with us, but we also develop them in our open workshops here in Newcastle. But they're tricky to develop. It's not something that you can do in 5 minutes. I think most businesses would take a few months to develop these things. You've got a few hypotheses, a few theories about your customers, you've got some data, you've got some ideas about who you think these people are. But you need to go out and test it and see. So it's often a starting point. They're very individual to your business and to your sector. Okay, so it's just your business and what you do, your products and services. And if you're creating content, it's a darn sight easier to write a blog or write a newsletter or even create a presentation with a clear idea of who it's for. You've got a person in mind, perhaps somebody who typifies a group of customers, but you're writing for them. And you've got the insight to know that you can do that meaningfully. So what do we put into a buyer persona? So the kinds of information that we're looking for, and you can see now where your marketing team might be struggling, and where actually the sales team and your customer services team have this information because they're in contact with these people. They've heard them say these things. So desired experience. So what do they want the outcome to be? Is it a relief from some kind of irritation? Or is it the holiday of a lifetime? But what do they want to achieve? Is it a problem that you're trying to solve, some kind of issue? Who are they buying for? So particularly B2C, you're often selling to the purchaser within the household, but they aren't the actual user. So why are they buying it for them? And what do they value about it? But also, what are the pressures on them in order to buy that thing? Sometimes when you're developing personas, you can think about a sort of typical challenges or typical issues that that person's facing, a day in the life of that person. Thinking about information sources, are they mobile users? Are they on social media? Or is it print media that they like? Have they got a favorite magazine? And in fact, sometimes when you're creating a buyer persona, you can have a bit of fun with this. So you can get some magazines that you like, and you can pull out some pictures of the kind of things that you know this person would like. Maybe even the clothes they'd wear, even a picture that looks like them. And then common objections. What are the reasons they give for not doing something? Well, I would, but, or we haven't yet because. And these are the things a salesperson knows. Salespeople are fantastic at surfacing and dealing with those common objections because that's what they're really good at. B2B, slightly different information because largely they're buying for the organization. Depending on how big and important that purchase is, that might leave them feeling really exposed, particularly if they're in a project management role. What if it goes wrong? What if everybody hates it? They don't like using it, or they think it's ugly. You know, we've all been in that position. We've all been project managers on new software installations or new databases or things like that. And you're championing that installation, you're championing that new purchase, but you might actually be feeling pretty exposed. Everybody in the organization who's going to be using it or paying for it is going to have a view. Everybody will have a view. So they all need slightly different information to help them with that decision. Sometimes there might be a past customer, and that's a really good opportunity to go back to people and say, so what problem did we solve for you? Are you really happy with it? How has it impacted your business? What are the positive changes that you've seen? What do the staff say about it? Okay. So what customer insights can the sales team share with us? Well, language. They're listening to customers, they're talking to customers. And, some sectors are really technical. They're really jargon rich. God, marketing has a ton of jargon. We have a ton of theory up our sleeves, concepts, models, everything. Then think about software. Then think about geology. Think about a biotech company. Think of all the jargon and all the stuff that the language you use internally all the time. And then I suppose all the business jargon that we use. That isn't necessarily the language that our customers use. They may have a very different tone of voice to us as well. I worked in the public sector for a long time. The public sector is a little bit kind of buttoned down, suit and tie. You're very careful what you say. You're very clear in the way that you communicate, but it's a rather corporate and professional style of language. That doesn't necessarily resonate with your customer. Your sales team know. They even know whether they're using jargon or whether they're using the latest buzzwords. They'll know if they understand your industry terminology for something, or if they need it to be translated into their own language. What this gives you is the basis for your keyword research, but it also gives you the kind of topics that you want to cover in your content marketing. So how do they describe their feelings and their aspirations? How do they describe their own current situation? What brought them to us? And why didn't they go to a competitor? Finally, what is keeping them awake at night? Even if that's a purchase for the family or a purchase for the household, there can be some burning reason why something needs to happen. But if that's your business or you're responsible for that area of the business, then that may really be keeping you awake at night. So I'm a massive fan of Marcus Sheridan, who blogs as the Sales Lion. And I think he sums it up really nicely. So I'm going to close with a few words from Marcus. When somebody visits our website, do we address their problems better than anyone else does? Well, in order to understand their problems and address them, you need to know who they are. You need to have a clear idea of who the person is, not that kind of customer group or segment. It's a person. But content marketing gives us a really great opportunity because obviously you're not going to clog up the key pages on your website with tons and tons and tons of content, but through having a blog, video, webinars like this one today, podcasts, and the things that you share in social media, e-guides on your website, downloads, and a kind of rich menu of information that you can share with people. You can address their questions. So if they ask you something, you can answer it. Who do they ask in your business? Chances are it's the sales team, or it's somebody in customer services, or in a customer-facing role. So marketers, go and have a chat with them. So quick recap, and then we'll move on to some questions. So why do we like content marketing? Well, you can get a lot more targeted in your marketing if you're talking to a specific type of person and you are addressing their unmet needs. So you're going to get better traffic. You will get more leads from it, but you'll get a better quality of traffic. People who are more interested in you and what you can do for them, and they will be easier to convert into sales. It's also great for people who've already bought from you. We're doing some training in-house for a really big national software company here in the UK. And we're helping their software resellers to reach out to their customers more effectively with inbound marketing. It can take about 6 to 9 months for a big software installation, integration with all your other software, and then training all the staff. That's a long time in which to get cold feet and think, flipping heck, we've made the wrong decision. So even onboarding the customer can benefit from content marketing. If you get your sales team involved in helping you develop your buyer personas, and then checking in with them on a regular basis to make sure that you're still targeting that person correctly and aptly, then your content marketing will become a lot more effective. It'll be really relevant to them. It will get their attention as well. And I think content marketing is an opportunity for that. There's a bridge between sales and marketing. I think it's the hand extended between the two, because you know, if you think about sharing the ownership of content generation, that you create it together, I think the sales team end up with marketing that serves them far better. It's closer to what they want. It's much closer to what the customers are asking them. So I'm really pleased. We've had a few questions through. And I'll just spend a couple of minutes addressing them for you. Okay, so this one's in from Nicola, who says, Nicola's in a sales function. Nicola said, well, okay, this is all well and good, but who owns the customer? Well, I think that varies from organization to organization, obviously. And I think sometimes marketing feel that they own the customer. I know the sales team definitely feel that they own the sale. They may even own the commission. But in my opinion, ultimately, it's the company that owns the customer. And marketing and sales are fulfilling different functions. They're fulfilling different roles in helping that customer through the sales journey. But I would say that the company owns the customer. I've got another question here. How do you make sure that there is consistency in your communications with your customer to avoid confusing them? Again, I think if you've developed personas for a particular type of customer, then everything that you say is going to it'd be like having a conversation with a member of your family or a friend, or somebody that you work with, a work colleague. It's as personal as having that kind of conversation. You're always going to be saying pretty much the same thing, and you'll know that person well enough to know what they're interested in. So I would say that by developing buyer personas or avatars, that's a really good way of achieving consistency. And oh, here's another one. Here we are. Okay, so I like this one because it's a topic that I'm quite interested in. So our sales team knows what the customer wants now, but our marketing team are working months in advance. How do you bring the two together? Well, I think one of the biggest issues between sales and marketing is that it's a little bit like the tortoise and the hare. We work at different speeds. That's the bottom line. So your marketing person they love planning because they know that without a plan, you're going to achieve an awful lot less. They've also got their targets to hit and their KPIs. But your salesperson might be working on a much shorter timeline. So they might be working month by month. Things have been broken down for them. They've been given a weekly target or a monthly target. And really, if they don't hit that target consistently, they could be out of a job. So I think one of the problems is that you've got slightly different agendas working here, but you've also got people working at different speeds. I think by bringing people together around the table and kind of surfacing this and getting it out in the open, I think that can help a great deal as well. And I think sometimes within a business, and I've helped clients with this kind of strategy before, where you have a kind of percentage of your marketing activities and your marketing plan that's fixed. It's cast in stone. And then you might have a percentage, either budget-wise or time-wise, where there's a bit of wriggle room, there's a bit of flexibility. And I think what it does is it creates a buffer between the sales and marketing team so that the sales team can get that response, that sort of near-term, look, we just need a new presentation or we just need some new materials. They can get that support. But I think also, as long as they're aware of the long-term plan, they know that it's going to happen eventually, they'll be more understanding. But I think if you can create a kind of a percentage buffer, a bit of wriggle room, I think that can smooth things out quite well as well. Now, there is a little free guide that we'll be sending to you shortly after this webinar today. And it's top 10 questions for your sales team. But you could use it with your customer services team or even your service team if you have a service function within your business. I hope you've enjoyed our webinar today. We'll be doing another webinar next month. I really hope to see you there. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.